We've all been given bad advice at one point or another. Maybe it was just information that we grew up with, or maybe someone gave you bad advice like just the other day. But I asked you what were some bad tips people gave you in the past, and here's what you said.
If you don't know Andre Pitre, he's the breeder who sold me all those really beautiful peacocks and haps, the last ones that I added to Alcatraz. Beautiful fish, and the peacocks haven't really been that aggressive yet, which he said tends to be the case with his fish through selective breeding, but I still had my doubts. But so far, so good. Anyway, the misinformation that Andre's talking about is that all fish go together just fine, and you've probably heard something like that before. Like if you get the fish at the same time as juvies, then they'll grow up together, which will eliminate their aggressiveness. Their familiarity with each other will just keep them from showing their natural violent tendencies inherent with the breed. And you know what? That might be true. For a while. Maybe even for a long time in some cases. But if you have a fish bent towards aggressive inmate mutilating behaviors, then you might be in for a really bad day in the future. This doesn't just go with cichlids either, but if you have cichlids, then you definitely know what I mean by this. Everything can be fine for years, and then one fateful morning, a little switch flips in your inmate, who's set to get released to the public for good behavior soon, and he decides it's time to go ahead and just kill everybody else in the tank. Because wouldn't it just be so nice to have a little privacy and me time every once in a while? It's not just aggressiveness that makes this statement that all fish can go together just fine false, though. You have so many considerations. Will one get so big that it'll be able to eat the others? You know that if a fish can eat another fish, he's going to do it. Some fish require different water parameters than others. Maybe it's temp, maybe it's tank size, water movement, lighting, plants, another decor, diet. Keep most Mbuna cichlids with your peacocks and haps, and they'll get way too much protein from the food you're feeding the other guys, or the reverse will happen if you add too much veggie in the mix, and they'll become unhealthy and you'll have some real problems. So don't just throw whichever fish you want in your tank. Do your research and try to find the fish that'll go well together. That's some advice that you can actually listen to.
Someone tried to fool Kaylin Woodard, 6516, with the good one here that we've probably all heard before. The 1 inch per gallon rule, especially when keeping bigger fish.
I have a 435 gallon tank here called San Quentin. That's pretty big. If you had a 435 and you were just setting it up, you could add like 800 and some neon tetras in there. That'd be about 1 inch per gallon or so. And that would work fine. They're all really small fish who like to school together, and they hardly make any waste at all. Good advice. But neon tetras are so boring, aren't they? Just swimming around together all day, being neon tetras. You decide you want to go and get something interesting. A fish like maybe an Oscar. So Oscars get 12 to 14 inches long. Calculating. Carry the one. 36.25 Oscars if you go by the 12-inch max size for each of them. Nice. No, it isn't nice. Oscars are pretty aggressive fish. Sometimes. And that's why too many of them all together in a tank, even a tank as big as San Quentin, is a bad idea. Plus, they're poop machines of the highest order, so you need a storage shed full of filtration for your tank. Well, maybe you'll go with something else for a big tank and get a 20 gallon for your Oscar. Then you can have 2 tanks, the 435 and the 20. He'll even have extra room since you're giving him that 8 extra inches of space. You're shaking your head right now because first of all, you know how false this is, but also you're shaking your head because it's all you can do, since all you want to do is punch the one who said it. Because people follow this advice and do it. And Oscars and other fish all around the world are suffering for it. Fish need room to move. Even really big tanks can be somewhat questionable for larger fish. If you have a really huge aquarium, it's still a small glass box compared to the lake or river or ocean your fish live in when they're found in nature. 1 inch per gallon is bullshit, and if you hear someone saying that, you know not to listen to anything else they're going to tell you. Hopefully someday they'll figure it out. Oh no, don't punch them though. At least not where anyone can see you do it.
Subscribe or someone dies. Ding ding.
This one really fits in nicely with the inch per gallon rule. Thanks for Matt Helm for bringing it up. Want a big fish? Well, just get a juvie and put him in a 10-gallon tank. He'll stop growing because there's no room in there. The fish will only get as big as the tank will allow him to get. If you've believed this lie, then you're not alone. There are so many people that have fallen prey to this misinformation that makes absolutely no sense. I already mentioned placing an Oscar in a 20-gallon tank and thinking there would be plenty of room to spare because of the inch per gallon thing. Well, they're going to keep growing, folks. and try to have some compassion on your fish. Imagine yourself being a 6-inch fish stuck in a 10-gallon tank. What kind of life is that? Or even worse, a 12-inch fish in a 10-gallon tank or a 20-gallon tank. Perhaps they don't need the kind of mental stimulation a dog needs or that we need, but they need some stimulation. And some fish are actually pretty smart. Fish can be perfectly happy if they have some room to move around, swim at least somewhat freely. That's why I always recommend at least a 125 bare minimum for some of the haps that don't get huge, but under like 10 inches or so. They love to swim around, back and forth. Put them in a 75, and that's just sad to me. Put yourself in their shoes. Give your fish some room to move. More than the bare minimum is my rule. If they recommend a 75 for the fish you want, then go with at least a 125. If you consistently read that a 125 is the bare minimum, then go with a 180 or a 240. See, those recommended minimum tank sizes are, in my opinion, usually too small. I don't want my fish to have the very smallest acceptable tank to live their entire lives in. They deserve more than that. Step it up a little and your fish will enjoy life more, and you'll enjoy your fish more. If you can't afford or don't have room for the tank size that'll give them a better life, then it's easy. Just go with a different type of fish. It's as simple as that.
This is one that a few of you responded with, but I'm going to give credit to Boss Whittet in this case. And it's one that we'd all like to believe, and I actually just did a video on it. Just don't do water changes. You don't need to.
A while back, a YouTuber named Father Fish, you probably know who he is, made a video stating that you don't have to do water changes.
When do you change water? Anyone? Never.
This sparked a load of controversy. All the other fish tubers were making videos about Father Fish's video. Some were saying how terrible it was what he said, and others were supporting him but maybe making a few clarifications too. Father Fish was completely right. You don't have to do water changes in your aquariums. If, and this is an extremely important thing to consider before you just drop the idea of doing water changes from now on, you can stop doing water changes if the conditions are right in your tank. The whole reason we do water changes is to reduce nitrates in the water and to replenish lost minerals. You might have a system in place that's taking care of those nitrates for you without having to do any extra work. A heavily planted tank will do it, or maybe you're a guru and have lots of anaerobic bacteria in your tank. That'll eat up those nitrates too. But many of us don't have a planted tank or anaerobic bacteria, so that means, yep, water changes are back on the menu, boys. I have an entire video I just made on why, when, and how much water to change in your aquarium. Just click on the link in the upper right corner. Or don't. You can lead a horse to water.
Special thanks to Mike Symes 517 for bringing this one to my attention. It's something that I've been told before, and you probably have too, but we've been misinformed. You can't feed fish the prawns that you get from Chinese takeout, but you can. Thanks, Mike Symes. This is one that not only just people that you meet will tell you, but also the manufacturers of the filters you buy. And they tell you to replace the filter pads every 30 days or so. Thank you, Justin Finley, for bringing this one up.
Sounds nice, doesn't it? Your filter cartridge or whatever gets clogged up and you just toss it out and put a nice, fresh, clean new one in. Taking care of those fish of yours. Except, and you probably know this already, but you're tossing away a gold mine of wonderful friends that are vital to the continued good health of your fish. Beneficial bacteria is responsible for eating up ammonia and nitrites in your water, and your filter cartridge is loaded with them. Bye-bye, little friends. Adios, and thanks for your diligent service. I wanted to say so long and thanks for all the fish. Let me know if you know which book that's from. It's one of my favorites. Okay, so now into the garbage you go, you useless, dirty filter media. No, keep those filter cartridges. Keep your filter media. Do a light rinse under the tap. Don't worry about chlorine, it's not going to kill your beneficial bacteria in the short exposure to it. You don't want it to look spick and span, but you want the water to be able to flow through it nicely. If your media becomes unusable because it's so dirty, clogged, and old, try to leave one cartridge or some other of the filter media in the filter and then replace the other one. You don't want to do too much cleaning of anything in your tank all at once, or your level of bacteria in there could drop enough to cause toxicity issues in your tank and kill your fish. Just a little bit at a time works fine. If you have kids, teach them to do it. Then you can just sit around while they do all the work and you can watch Star Trek. That'd be sweet.
If you want to know why I make my videos look the way they do, or why I even make them at all, check out this video right here and you'll get all your answers. Until next time, that's going to be a wrap.